transition pictures for Nelson Mandela, who died in 2013 at the age of 95 of a lung infection. Now, Nelson Mandela was a lawyer in his early life, and a Marxist, actually, who didn't really come to the fore until the majority white government in South Africa decided to go the full way into segregation and make it an apartheid country. Well, this caused uproar, and it incensed Nelson Mandela so much that he became a revolutionary and decided to try to overthrow the government by peaceful means if he could. But when that didn't work and segregation persisted, he went for a more violent, militant approach and kept getting arrested for sedition until the government got tired of it and locked him up. He was in prison for 27 years until 1990, when he was released by de Klerk, who decided that, there's going to be some kind of race riot here if we don't do something about Nelson Mandela. And so he was released, and they worked together. And in 1994, they had a full, free, multiracial election, and Nelson Mandela was elected president. And from there, he just went on to become a global icon, which is strange. He has a sort of Mother Teresa-y feel to him when people talk about Nelson Mandela, but he was a Marxist. He was a serial adulterer, though not a religious guy, as so many of these people are. He was a guy who just believed in everybody getting along together, that there was a common theme that bonded humanity, and that's what we should glom onto, not to any particular kind of faith with a capital F, any kind of religion. So I thought I'd take a look at Nelson Mandela. He died, as I said, of a lung infection, and a lot of you wanted me to do him. So I went into the energy, and when I found him, there he is. He was walking along a corridor, but there was something womb-like about this corridor he was in. It was very cozy, it was very warm. He stepped into an executive elevator, which had carpet on the walls. It was almost claustrophobic, actually, because it was so close inside. And this elevator went down for a while with him in it, I guess, as he went into the dying process. And then suddenly, the floor opened up and he fell out. He went down this chute and into the cave, the metaphorical, symbolic cave that I always see. And he had died. He crossed over. That was a process. Gentle, cosseted, but a process. He lay on the floor for a while and smiled. It's like, wow, here we are. And I waited and watched, and he didn't move. He just kept looking out behind me. It's like, oh, wow, this is amazing. Now, normally, I don't really scan this metaphorical cave thing anymore because I know what it is. I've seen it in all these different transitions. I don't pay much attention to it. But because he kept looking, in my head, in my mind, I turned around to see what he was seeing. And it was remarkable. It was like a luminescent ocean. He walked up to the water's edge, waded into it a certain way, then realized it was too deep for him to go any further. He didn't have the faith, with a little f maybe, the faith to keep on walking. So he stands there and he doesn't move. How am I going to negotiate this? Where am I going to go? But as he stood there debating, it's almost as if a pair of hands under the water came and lifted him up slightly and then just carried him. Maybe the hands of grace. And he was just carried along through the ocean, up the tunnel. Now, this tunnel, I should say, was enormous this time. And usually that's a reminder that, yeah, in life, in the mortal side of things, you may have been great, revered, honored hundreds of times. Here, you're the same as everybody else, just like you believed when you were younger. There is no greatness here, and the tunnel dwarfs those who were great. almost as if they need to be reminded of that. But he was carried through the water up the tunnel. At the top, there was like a second cave. And here, the waters got very choppy. And the hands weren't there to support him anymore. He had to walk on his own. When I went above him, I could see that this wasn't a straight path. And he was going, well, how am I going to know which way to go? I could fall off and drown. He had to feel his way gradually by putting his feet out and trying to feel where the edges were in order to move forward. And this felt like the universe or grace or whatever saying to him, okay, you need to decide what's important about you, about your life, about what matters, and let the rest go. And that's what he did. He walked along this curvy path, but with great uncertainty and trepidation. Like, well, I kind of believe in this process, but it's really difficult. I thought it would be easier than this. When he reached the other side, the light wasn't even a dome. It was just this vast source of power ahead of him. The water here was smooth again. He took a step into it, but realized that the path now was sloping downwards. And with the next step, he went deeper. The next step, deeper still. His consciousness was going, I can't do this. Meanwhile, grace was beckoning him on. Come on, take another step. At which point, he has a sort of epiphany. He goes, oh, faith, I see. Steps out again and goes under the water and disappears. It took faith to go the rest of the way. Faith with a little f. Up until that point, it's almost like he coasted on his reputation. He'd bought his way into heaven. But he couldn't go the whole way unless he could show that he had faith in the process. And it's very true in life. A lot of the people who practice faith with a big F, religion, organized religion, that is rooted in fear for them. They don't have faith. They simply rely on their narrative to get them through. And I'm a great believer in whatever gets you through the night. Whatever you choose to believe is fine, as long as it doesn't hurt somebody else. But real faith, with a little f, takes courage and a congruence with the oneness of the universe that says, I am taken care of. Whatever happens now, I throw myself on the mercy of all that is. And I know I'll be fine. But we don't need to wait until we die to discover that. We can be fine now. We can have faith with a little f now. We can live our lives with that kind of faith. We can take that next step, understanding as we do so that we are connected to the divine. And that's what I learned from Nelson Mandela.